I had Miss Prescott in junior high school in 1969.
And I had Miss Prescott in 2005, 2006,
and 2002, 2003.
I currently have Miss Prescott in 7th grade.
In 2006, 2007.
2002 to 2004.
Began in 7th and 8th grade last year.
And 4 of my 5 sons have had the pleasure of having Miss Prescott as their Spanish teacher.
First day of school, I think, we get these books, and she has them all in like this back cupboard, and she passes them out. She has all the numbers like memorized, which ones are which, and I remember opening it up, and I think my front cover was falling off. I think I had like a section of like 40 pages maybe that would just come out of the book, and I was kind of like, okay, keep track of this one, you know, and it was just random times throughout the year I'd be missing a page or like 2 pages stuck together or something like that.
Like in the first day of school, we all get around and laugh because we treat that, but was it going to turn to dust or what? And we look at the pages and the text is just falling apart, but boy, can you imagine the feel and the history of it is just really amazing. You know, to realize how many students have gone through that.
Well, the textbook that I'm using and that I have been using for quite a while, it's not that I'm devoted to that textbook per se, but that it's got a good framework. It's got grammar in it. And I think if students get a framework, a skeleton of grammar, then they can build on it. Anybody can learn vocabulary and add to that, but they need to know how to say, I want to study, I want to eat, I want to go to pizza, things like that. And as I have been looking for possible replacements, I haven't found that.
There was a gang of parents that were going to get that book changed if it killed them. They could not believe that their children were using an old, tattered, hardback book and that couldn't be up to date and it couldn't be good for their little Mary or Johnny's learning, and that, you know, they must not be getting a quality education if they have these tattered books. And secretly I was hoping, I hope she can stand up to those people, because for whatever reason, she knows this is the best book.
I think it definitely helps for her. I mean, seeing that she's blind or whatever it is, she's memorized the book, which is absolutely amazing.
So it's almost like a system of old-fashioned learning, the way probably your parents were raised and I was raised, where you're taught a concept that day, you practice it at night, you come back and everybody grades each other's work, and you know what you did wrong, you know exactly where you stand, and then you try again the next day. You try on the speaking, then you try again on the writing. And then she has these ways for you not to fail. It's a system that is set up for kids not to fail.
It is not an easy class. It is not easy, but you learn.
One of the ways that students learn to be organized and to be self-disciplined is by setting up a system where the expectations are pretty clear and it's doable. You know, it's not impossible to get a good grade. It's something that they can do if they'll give up and do it my way.
I think her students really want to please her. I mean, she's as a teacher, she's great.
The best part about Miss Prescott is her no tarea shirts and stuff.
She used to have this t-shirt that she would wear, and it said like, kind of like a no smoking sign, but in the middle it'd have tarea, so it'd be like no tarea, and tarea's homework, obviously. I remember she'd sit in her classroom and have all her clothes on. We'd be sitting there, and then she'd just kind of be like, oh, you guys, you know, hace calor, which means like, oh, it's a little warm, you know. And we'd be kind of like, disregard it, like, oh yeah, it's kind of hot in here, okay. Then she'd be like, no, hace calor, and we'd be like, what? And she'd start like unzipping her clothes, which, I mean, if you know Miss Prescott, you're kind of like, oh. After the first or second time she did this, we'd be like screaming at her, like, yeah, like, quítate la ropa, which is like, take off your clothes, which is a funny thing to say to a teacher, especially Miss Prescott.
When you see that shirt, you're like, yes, no homework. It's really great, and it's the best part because she gives out a lot of homework, but it's doable and it's fun.
She can laugh at herself, and she can teach the kids how to laugh at themselves. And it's all about the kids. It's not about her.
As far as respect goes, I think she's definitely one of the most respected teachers.
On parent-teacher night, we still call her Miss Prescott because she deserves the respect and admiration.
She's amazing in the sense that she knows so much Spanish that, like, sometimes with teachers, you're kind of like, oh, you know, you might not think they're like the best teacher or they don't know what they're talking about. But with Miss Prescott, like, it's concrete. She knows.
Teachers have so much power in a kid's life, really, to leave an impression. And so she's a role model by just her very behavior.
In 8th grade, we had these 2 boys in our class that were kind of rambunctious. And we had one kid, Scotty, who decided one day to like make spitballs and spit them at people or whatever it was. And I don't know how she discovered this. Somehow she caught him. And like, instead of, you know, sending him to the office or making him stay after school or anything like that, I think she gave him an option. She was like, you know, we can either go to the office and, you know, we'll talk about this or whatever. Or she said, or you can make 1,000 spitballs after school. And there was Scotty sitting in the back of the classroom with like a stack of like paper towels in order to make his spitballs, like a little cup of water because he was going to get thirsty making all these spitballs. And then just like rows and rows and rows of tiny little spitballs that apparently he had to make 1,000 of in order to like pay his penance for making spitballs.
It's fun. It's absolutely never dull. You get to plant seeds of organization and learning and hopefully curiosity and determination.
I didn't get told by Miss Prescott how great she was as a teacher. It took each kid to open up a little bit more to me about what it was about her that made her so great.
The fun thing that's happening now is I'm getting the children of former students. I've probably had about a dozen or so by now.
It's quite an honor to know that that legacy has lived on, and it's just really neat to see Miss Prescott still around doing the same thing.
She is a legend. She is a legend. She's a legend because nobody knows about her.
For someone who's visually impaired, I mean, that's difficult. And to be able to teach, I mean, and to teach junior high kids at that for 40 years, I mean, that's just something, like that dedication, determination, whatever it is, just so amazing that, I mean, I'm just in awe of such, like, she's just a great person. It's just cool.
Who's your favorite teacher? Oh, Miss Prescott. Who's your best teacher? Oh, Miss Prescott.
The impact she's had on so many people. People that have come back have talked about her and wants to know if she's still here. Classmates have asked. And
it'll never die out either. It'll keep on going.
There's been rumors she was going to retire. I think like my year was going to be her last year and then the next year. And it was always a relief having her come back. I mean, because if she were to retire, I mean, she's going to retire. And I mean, she's an institution. I mean, I don't think it's really possible for someone to like establish themselves so well in such a community.
if she does decide to leave, she's leaving on top. You know, she's got a great legacy behind her.
Porque te quiero, te quiero, te amo, te adoro, sin ti no puedo vivir.
Porque te quiero, te quiero.
Te amo, te adoro.
¿Qué más te puedo decir?
Now all I got to do is get the tune. I don't think I'm a legend, no.
I think it feels good. Like, hey, you had Miss Prescott too, so did I, and it's like everybody's had Miss Prescott.
I think she's seriously one of the nicest people, one of the nicest teachers I've had.
She is such a marvelous teacher.
She's memorable.
I think she's a great teacher, and 40 years is amazing.
She is irreplaceable.
You're more on tune. I'm not sure exactly what it would take to be a legend, but I'm not sure that I'm it.